What is up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of From the Booth to the Court. It's your boy Roy, and today what we're actually going to do is we're going to talk about some of the NBA's matchups that we got going on tonight, this Thursday, and see what games that I think may be good games, and also what teams we think maybe possibly will win those games. So the first matchup we got popping off is we got the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Indiana Pacers. Now everybody know that the Thunder has been balling like crazy right now. You could tell that Paul George and Westbrook's got their chemistry clicking. They actually are playing, good basketball. They number 3 in the West. Really just been kind of just handing it to them. Russell Westbrook and Paul George both playing MVP type games at this time. So I think that the Thunder is basically going to be an overpowered team, a good team in the playoffs. The Pacers, the actual opponent, as y'all know, they actually lost Victor Oladipo to a season-ending injury, so they won't have Victor Oladipo. But before he got injured, Pacers actually was doing good in the East. They was actually dominating over there. Honestly, they were a top 4 team. They still actually got some cool, nice players that can actually step in and fill that void left by Victor. They actually been getting some wins off, but as of lately, they have been losing. I think they lost like 5 of their last 8 games. So they kind of been on a rough streak at this time. But I mean, they still kind of a team to watch out for. I mean, if those guys can actually get it clicking, they still can actually get a W off, I think, against anybody in the NBA. But I mean, the Thunder right now, they playing so strong. Russell Westbrook is dominating. Paul George playing MVP right now. So, I mean, those guys are actually killing it. As far as looking at the actual matchups, besides the Victor Oladipo injury, the only other players that we have is we got Andre Robertson for the Thunder. He's actually going to be out this game. And Markieff Morris is going to be out this game. So those are the other 2 injuries that are actually going to be having those 2 players missing in action along with Victor Oladipo. But I still think the Thunder gonna take that one. It'll be a decent game, but I just think the Thunder gonna crush them, to be honest. Next matchup we got popping off is we got the Cleveland Cavaliers facing the Orlando Magic. Now these are both bottom feeding teams, kind of in the East. The Magic has kind of been getting into the A seed and then dropping out and getting back in. I know they actually started the season off doing pretty good, had a winning record to begin the season, but kind of been slumping and struggling throughout that time. Cleveland, I know they've been kind of dealing with the loss of LeBron. That's a big void to fill. And then Kevin Love went down with the injury that he had. But Kevin Love, I think, is back now. They actually have been, trying to play a little bit better since he's actually came back. But I just don't think they're going to have enough to beat the Orlando Magic. I still think Orlando is going to take that game. As far as the injuries, you're going to have Tristan Thompson out that game. And Larry Nance Jr. out that game, as well as John Henson. So those are a few injuries, but I think Orlando gonna take that matchup. Now the next actual game that we have popping off, I think is gonna be an interesting game. Is we got the Minnesota Timberwolves going against the Utah Jazz. Now the Minnesota Timberwolves, they are 10th in the West right now. They have actually been trying to fight just like the Lakers and to try to get into that actual 8th seed. A few games left in the NBA season. They may possibly be able to slide in. I honestly don't think that the 6, 7, and 8 seed teams right now in the West are going to actually lose those playoff spots. They may switch positions. Maybe the 8th place team would be 7th or the 7th could be 6th. And they might switch around. But I don't think any of those 3 teams are going to actually fall out of the playoff contention and be a team that doesn't make the playoffs. But Utah, I know they actually have been struggling a little bit right now. They are the 7th seed, but they have been losing a few games that I thought they could have won. So I mean, this is gonna be a good matchup because they both are kind of jockeying for those last few spots. I think that the Utah Jazz is gonna actually win this game. Me personally, I would like the Timberwolves to win because I'm a Cat fan. I like Karl Anthony Towns, but I just don't think they're gonna have enough to actually get the job done. Looking at their team too, they also gonna have Andrew Wiggins not playing, Derrick Rose, Jeff Teague, Luol Deng. So they got a lot of injuries to try to overcome, and I don't think Cat gonna be able to do it by himself. So I'm gonna actually give Utah Jazz that pick for that actual matchup. The next matchup we got going is gonna be the Dallas Mavericks going against the Denver Nuggets. Now, Dallas, they actually I mean, they're a bottom feeder team, but Luca has been balling like crazy. I'm a Spurs fan, as you see on the hat. They actually played us last game, and we almost gave that game away if it wasn't for DeMar DeRozan doing what we need him to do, along with Big LaMarcus. But they're a team to actually watch out for. Shout out to Dirk. I know it's his last season, possibly, but I mean, when he's coming in at the reserve role, he's stroking, he doing his thing. But the Denver Nuggets, man, that team to me has actually been the biggest surprise in the NBA this season. I mean, they the number 2 seed. I know I did not pick them to be the number 2 seed, especially in the West, and knowing how tough the West is. They the number 2 seed. They balling like everybody kind of knows they roll on that team. They just kind of been doing their thing. So I think the Denver Nuggets is actually gonna take that game. And then the next actual game we got going is going to be the Sacramento Kings going against the Boston Celtics. Now the Celtics, they kind of been underperforming as far as what they roster show. I mean, if you look at that team, as far as the players they got, the depth, to me, I think that's really one of the only teams that possibly can match up with the Golden State Warriors because they got a good bench. They got a good starting lineup. Hell, they got people on the bench that could be starting it. So it's like kind of been a big crazy jumble because you got players that are so good, they all playing around the same positions that Brad Stevens is kind of having a tough time wanting to find out who can start, who can come off the bench. I mean, they kind of been underperforming, but they still a dangerous team. And then they got Kyrie. He just so clutch and really actually stepping into that leadership role. But as far as the Sacramento Kings, that's another team that's been surprising on the West. Like they've been actually getting a lot of W's, and they've been fighting and trying to jockey for that eighth playoff spot as well. I think they actually nice, so they're closest as far as being able to jump into that eighth seed. De'Aaron Fox is balling like crazy. They just got young gunners who up and down that court. I know when my Spurs playing, we old and slow. We be having trouble trying to keep up with them young guys. But that team is a good team. But I honestly think that with that matchup, the Celtics, if they do what they supposed to do, they're gonna be able to take that game. But it's kind of funky with them. I mean, they show up, they'll kill the Warriors, and then they'll lose to a team that they ain't supposed to lose to. So you never know with that squad. And then besides that, we got another matchup which I think would have been the actual marquee matchup for the night. I mean, as far as the individual players on these teams, I think that would be the marquee matchup, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers going against the Toronto Raptors. Now, Lakers, as you know, they just kind of been having a underwhelming season. They actually are 11th in the West. LeBron, he been doing this thing. He's still basically getting his 27, 8-8. But I mean, he had that injury that kind of cost him 18 games, and they slipped out of the fourth seeds, and ever since he came back, and the trade rumors and everything that's surrounding this team as far as drama-wise and injury-wise has just been causing this team to not be able to perform, and they just haven't been actually looking good at all. But I mean, looking at the actual matchups for the Lakers, they're gonna be actually missing Brandon Ingram. They're gonna be missing Josh Hart, possibly Tyson Chandler, and then Lonzo Ball. That's the only injuries are actually basically affecting them. Now, as far as the actual Toronto Raptors, Kawhi is basically supposed to play. It doesn't say that he's not going to play. I know Kyle Lowry and Danny Green are both listed as questionable. I think they actually going to play because both of them just have sore ankles, so I think they're going to play. I think it's gonna be a good matchup to see LeBron going against Kawhi. I know LeBron is on a minute restriction, so I don't know how much time he gonna get, and I don't know what Luke Walton decisions is because as everybody know, Luke, he's kind of been under a lot of criticism with the job he's doing with that team. But I think Toronto gonna pull it off. They've been playing well. I mean, they can win with Kawhi, without Kawhi, and that's just a good team right now. So those are actually my thoughts on the night's matchups in the NBA this Thursday. You guys get in the comment section. Tell me what you think. If you got teams that you think that'll win, that'll be different than my picks. Put that in the comment, or tell me, matchups that you think will be good matchups or key matchups. Let me know. And also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also click that notification bell so every time I upload, you can get that notification and see what's popping on the channel. Again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Roy from the Booth to the Court. We out.